estate coach and strategist, and today we're going to talk about the ultimate first investment property, your home. A lot of folks don't realize that you can be an investor just with your first home. It doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel and all the things. Being an investor is a huge thing to take. So why not start with that very first investment, which is the place where you're going to live? So today I'm going to go through and break down 3 ways that you can become an investor with just purchasing your first home, and show you how you be able to go through and allow all of the things to happen so that you can become an investor a lot quicker, a lot cheaper, and also a lot more efficiently. I'm going to show you some ways to get this done, even some things that you probably weren't thinking of before. Of course, everything goes crazy when you are trying to record, so y'all know that I'll definitely just get to it, and if you hear something, just go ahead and just be like, okay, Jasmine is Jasmine. So just make sure that you go through and take your pen and your paper and take some notes, and then leave me some comments, because you guys haven't been leaving me any comments. Usually you're leaving me comments like, Jazz, this makes sense, this at home, or Jasmine, I need you to go deeper. Let me know. The only way that I'm able to know is if you guys go through and let me know, like, okay, Jasmine, this made sense, this rang home, or Jasmine, girl, you ain't make no sense to me. So let me just go through and let you know what needs to happen. So at minimum, when you are have purchased your first investment property, you want to think about it as eliminating your first expense. Now, remember, your first expense or your biggest expense is your house payment. Remember, in your budget, when you're thinking about how you're paying the card note, the credit cards, all the things, the one payment, that one chunk, the biggest one, is usually how you're paying for where you live. Now, if you're going through and setting up your property as an investment property, that means that you can go through and say, you know what, this is an investment property. I could go through and have this eliminated with just a few little tweaks and changes. And I'm going to share with you all a story that I did. When I bought my first house, I purchased a duplex. I purchased a duplex in East Oak Lane, Philadelphia. And I don't think I knew at the time what was happening, or what, what I was doing, or now they call it house hacking and all the things. I don't think I even knew that. I just knew that I wanted to supplement my rent payment. I knew that I was a single mom. I was pregnant at the time, and I had my daughter, and I really was like, you know what, if I could just think of some things, some ways to go ahead and be able to still cover this house payment and be able to live in a nice neighborhood, and and in a nice home and own it, then let me go ahead and do that. So I purchased my first duplex. It was a fixer-upper. It was one of those things that I was like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. But I took the really hard route, because y'all know I take the hard route first and then I reinvent it every single time. But I went through and I took the hard route of just doing the renovations. Every paycheck I got, I did a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. Finally, I was able to get my cousin to move in downstairs. And even though he was a cousin, he was definitely paying rent, and it really saved us. It saved us. Right after I had my son, I was laid off. And with me being laid off, I was like, oh, okay, I got to go ahead and I got to get this done. And my cousin basically covered the mortgage. The unemployment covered our lights and our lights and our food, and we were able to live. That happened for like 2 years. I was literally jobless, and I figured out how to make ends meet eventually. But at first, if I were living in a single family home, I don't know that I would have been able to make that maneuver. I grew up in a duplex, so I was used to having someone downstairs. When I grew up, my aunt lived downstairs and my mom and I lived upstairs, but it was really just an experience for me to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to be able to supplement my payments, and that's the way that you can do it too. In fact, when I'm talking to new home owners or home buyers and they are with a limited budget, I do make the suggestion, hey, why not purchase a duplex so that you can go through and be able to purchase a home in a desirable neighborhood, because you're able to be approved for more. Remember, the banks are going to use the projected rent that you're going to get from that rental property or from that other unit they're going to use that against your DTI. So they're going to say, oh, this person can now afford more home because they're going to have that rent payment. Now, of course, you don't want to overdo it. You want to stay within your budget, and you want to make sure that you're able to cover that mortgage payment just in case something happens and you know the tenant doesn't pay, or you have a vacancy for a while, or all the things. But it's something to think about when you're thinking about purchasing that first home, especially if you have a smaller family, or you're on your own. It may be an alternative to go through and purchase a duplex or a triplex or a quad. In our area in Philadelphia, we don't have as many quads or, smaller multifamilies as other regions, but it is definitely possible. And you can get it done. And usually I recommend that people use the FHA mortgage product to go ahead and only have to put down 3.5%. Now, just think about that when you're thinking about purchasing. Just say if we're purchasing a $200,000 property, that's $7,000. Most people, when they're moving into a rental unit, they're paying 3 months rent. If you're thinking maybe that cost is, I don't know, $3,000 to $4,000, just think about if you save just a little bit more, you can go through and now own a investment property for the lowest amount that you'll ever have to pay, or ever be able to pay, and live in this property and be making income as you go along. Now, I'm telling you this from experience, from just firsthand, and then being able to help so many women get to home ownership, that buying that investment property or buying that duplex is going to be the thing that really helps you propel to the next level. When I was going through this process, and even living in the duplex before we moved into a single family, that property was able to supplement and get us into the new house payment. You have to think outside of the box when you're thinking about going into that first property. That may not be your forever home, right? It may not be somewhere where you're going to live forever. Now, I'm not saying to sell it. I'm saying to use it as that investment property, but don't just limit yourself to something that's only renovated. I tell you all to buy the ugly house. You've heard me say that before. When you're buying that ugly house, you're going through, you can update the bathroom. You can go through and update the kitchen, and then have something that's new that makes sense for you. And you can go through and get through to your investment dreams. So that's the first way, right? And then the next way is having a single family home that you house hack. So we are blessed to live in a great neighborhood, and it's very desirable. And I have thought on some levels of going through and saying, you know what, I can have someone who actually lives in our basement, right? So either lives in our basement or even lives in one of the guest rooms that we have upstairs. When you think about house hacking, you want to make sure that your comfort level is there though. So you don't want to necessarily go through and say, oh, well, I want to go through and, house hack and open up my home and then just not be comfortable with people living in your space, sharing your kitchen and the things like that. If you don't have separate spaces, it can be a hindrance if you're not used to that. But if you're single and you're just like, you know what, I don't spend that much time here. I can, I'm at work. I'm usually going through, I'm in my room, I'm sleeping or whatever. You can go through and really have the experience of being able to pay down your house a lot quicker, having exponential when it comes to savings. Because remember, you would still want to make your payment, the payment that you would make towards your mortgage, you want to make that payment to yourself, right? So you want to take that payment that you would make and put it into a high interest yield savings account, or put it into something that is going to make you even more money, another investment, or saving the cash flow for another investment property. It's just endless of what you can do. But if you don't take the step to even think about it, then you're going to really, I think you should. The next thing that you can do that a lot of people are not even thinking about is leasing or renting space in your home. So I have a huge garage, right? I could go ahead. There are platforms that you can go through and post your garage or your basement or a spare closet. You can post all of those things on this platform as storage. People are getting into smaller spaces. They need to store things. I have a garage that I rent out in the city. The guy lives in, far out. and he wants to be able to drive his motorcycle in the city. He stores his motorcycle. He pays me $250 a month just to put one motorcycle into my garage. And when I tell you that that is just passive income, he pays like clockwork, and it comes out, and it's just one of those things that are already existing on a rental property that I already have. You can do the same thing with your home. A lot of people don't necessarily need access to their stuff right away. They don't just always need access to that stuff. So it's not going to disturb you. It's not going to, they may just come by once a month just to check in on their stuff, right? And so when you set that up in your home, you can go through, and now this is an additional stream of income. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, I don't have the money to invest and I can't find it, my budget's tight and things like that. We are in an amazing time in our lives where the economy is it's like this side gig economy, something that is going to make it so easy for us to make extra money. When Uber and all those things came out, I knew that the shift was about to happen. We're now able to trade us, just being peer to peer and not being like a company has to do. So you can lease out your space or rent out your space, make that money, and get to the next level when it comes to your savings. As I told you before, don't just go ahead and take that money and go ahead and spend it. Make sure that you're putting it in something that works, something that's going to work for you. It's passive. It's, it's something that you already have set up. So just say if you're able to accumulate $800 just for someone, house hacking in your home outside of your mortgage payment. Think about saving that just over a 10-month period. That's $8,000 that you would be able to go through and pocket and be able to get to the next level. You guys know that I'm always here to support you. I haven't gotten any comments, so make sure you guys leave me some comments so I can really be able to know that this is hitting home, and let me know what kind of content you need so that you can go through and get to the next level when it comes to your finances. I can't wait to talk to you guys soon. I've been on this hiatus for a little bit, but I'm back and I have new content, new visuals, all the things. And I can't wait to see what you all have in store. And make sure you all also join my Facebook community, because that community is full of women that are on the same trek as you, on the same journey, trying to figure out how to get with their finances, trying to figure out how they're going to be able to get and elevate to the next level using real estate. And I'm here to assist. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all next